So a little bit about Griffith for those of you who haven't met us before. So Griffith is a comprehensive university located in the state of Queensland in Australia, and we are essentially a pretty young university compared to a lot of universities. We were started in the 1970s, and basically although we are very young, we've done a lot. So we are ranked, as you'll see there, in the top 2% of universities worldwide. So despite being young, we are an academically rigorous university and very well ranked. So our programs are recognised throughout the world. You'll have no problems in that regard. So we are a university that is very big on both research and teaching. We believe that research informs good teaching. So we do a lot of research across all of the subject areas that I'm going to mention. And we also are very big on teaching. Very, very important, particularly for those of you who would be pathwaying into our bachelor's program. Teaching is kind of the main part of your program. You may do some research and work integrated learning, but a lot of it is time spent teaching. So very important to you to know that Griffith is committed to teaching. So Griffith being such a young university, I think one of the best things about that is that we're not too stuck in our ways. We are very much future focused, very much looking ahead to the next thing, very innovative. You will notice that all of our degrees at Griffith do have opportunities for internships, or what we like to call work integrated learning. And employability is just huge for us. So we want to make sure that our graduates have good outcomes upon finishing their degree. And as I mentioned before, we are young, but we are recognised on the QS rankings as one of the top 50 universities under the age of 50. So young, but mighty. And I mentioned before the quality of teaching at Griffith, and this is just another proof point of that. Griffith is actually Australia's most awarded teaching university. So definitely a key component along with research. Now, in terms of numbers, so Griffith is not your typical campus university, in terms of having one campus. Griffith actually has 5 physical campuses, and of course you can study via distance as well. So we have just over 50,000 students studying at Griffith, but don't be alarmed. As I mentioned, that's not just one campus. Students are spread across those 5 physical campuses, and a lot of students are studying online, of course, around the world with us as well. So of those 50,000 students, usually somewhere between kind of 15 and 20% are international in any given year. And those students are coming from over 130 different nationalities. So not just very multicultural within, the Australian student body, but very multicultural in terms of our international student population as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about programs in a moment, but yeah, we have a pretty significant offering. We are a comprehensive university, so we have over 200 different degree programs available for you at Griffith.
Meters, turn left onto Dixie Road.
If there's anybody sitting there without mute on, can you just pop mute on for us so there's no distraction in the sound? Thank you. So in terms of location, I did mention that we are in the state of Queensland in Australia. So you'll see that state highlighted there on the map. So essentially our campuses are in Brisbane and the Gold Coast. So Brisbane is Queensland's capital city, and Gold Coast is another smaller city about an hour away from Brisbane. So Brisbane has the Nathan campus, which used to be our biggest campus and was kind of our flagship. It still has an enormous range of programs. Across the road from Nathan is the Mount Gravatt campus, and you can take a little inter-campus bus between those 2 campuses and use facilities at both of them, no matter which campus you're on. South Bank is kind of in downtown Brisbane, and it is really our creative arts hub at Griffith. So it has the College of Art, the Film School, and Queensland's Conservatorium, the only conservatorium of music in the state. Our Logan campus is a bit further out of Brisbane, kind of between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and its focus is very much on social work, those kind of human services type programs. And then, of course, the Gold Coast. Now, the Gold Coast and Nathan pretty much look identical in terms of program areas. There are a few more things you can study at the Gold Coast than Nathan, but they're pretty similar. Both very comprehensive campuses in terms of programs. And of course, Gold Coast has now become our largest campus, and I think the latest count is about 18,000 students at Gold Coast. So big enough, but not too big. So life in Queensland is pretty good. We are known as the Sunshine State for a reason. We do get over 300 days of sunshine a year. So if you love to be outdoors, you hate the winter, you're looking to get away, this is definitely a great place to study in terms of environment and climate. As you can see from the average temperatures there, we don't have any such thing as winter in Queensland, certainly not by Canadian standards. So definitely a great place if you enjoy the sun and all kinds of water sports, essentially. So Brisbane, being the capital, has about 2.2 million people. Gold Coast is smaller, has about 600,000 people. As I said, they're only about an hour's drive from each other. So, you know, whichever city you end up in, you'll still be spending a lot of time in the other city. And the Gold Coast is a big tourism hub as well. So you will, you know, see people coming in and out all throughout the year. Both cities have fantastic public transport systems, very important for our student population. So if you're living in Brisbane, depending on where you're going, you might be taking the train, the bus, or the ferry. If you're on the Gold Coast, you'll be taking the GLink Tram or the bus. So this is our Gold Coast campus here. So in the background there, you can see Surfers Paradise, and lots of tall buildings there, so lots of high rises. Lots of people like to holiday here, even within Australia, not just international tourists. So if you were living down here at Surfers Paradise and you were taking the GLink Tram down here to our campus, it would be about 20 minutes. So pretty good. And you can see on the campus, we actually have 2 different tram stations. So depending on which side of the campus you're on, you're not going to have to walk very far to catch the tram. And a couple of other buildings highlighted there. We do have the Gold Coast University Hospital, so all of our health science students will become very familiar with this hospital. We do have the Aquatic Centre over here, which I'll show you a little bit more about later, and the Griffith Business School, which some of you may be interested in as well. And you can see also our accommodation on the Gold Coast campus to the right there. So everything is very doable. It's definitely a very walkable campus. You don't need to kind of bike around or, you know, use a scooter or anything like that. Pretty walkable. And of course, I have to show you the obligatory shot of students enjoying the Gold Coast weather and lifestyle. That goes with the territory. So this is Brisbane, this is downtown Brisbane. So this is highlighting our South Bank campus, as you can see on the right there. The reason that I mentioned this is because you'll see on the left there is the Student 1 accommodation. So I like to point this out to remind you that if you don't want to live on campus, there are lots of other places open to you. There are lots of places that offer student-specific accommodation. And then later on, I'll show you some websites as well that sometimes students use to find private share houses and that kind of thing. But yeah, if you were living at Student 1 accommodation and you wanted to study at the Nathan campus, you'd be taking a bus. And again, it would take you about 20 to 25 minutes from downtown Brisbane out to Nathan. And this is Nathan campus. And you'll notice immediately there is a ton of green. And that's because both Nathan and the Malcrobat campuses are located within a national park, which is pretty cool, especially for students who are looking at science or environmental science programs. You have a living ecosystem right here on campus. And this is downtown Brisbane. This is very close to our South Bank campus, so literally a quick walk down the road from our South Bank campus. So Brisbane does not have the beautiful beaches that the Gold Coast has, but it does have a man-made beach right in downtown Brisbane, which is pretty cool. It's nice if you're a South Bank student and after class you're able to take advantage of this. And again, water sports, may not be surfing, but there are still lots of water sports to take part in on the Brisbane River. So, getting into programs, I mentioned to you that we do have a comprehensive list of programs at Griffith, and I wasn't kidding. You can see we have everything from business to things like criminology and law, engineering. We have all the big health programs that you would expect of a larger university. We have sciences and aviation, and then things like visual and creative arts as well. So there aren't many areas of study that aren't available at Griffith. So there's pretty much something for everybody. And I mentioned before that employability is a big, aspect of studying at Griffith. We do have work integrated learning built into programs, and we have a lot of other opportunities for you to get experience, to be mentored, to get help with your your CV, getting ready for interviews, all of that kind of stuff before you actually reach graduation. So yeah, lots and lots of great opportunities here for you if you wish to take part. Now, Griffith works on a trimester system, and I should say before I go into that, Australia's academic system, if you're not sure, we actually work on our academic calendar works on a calendar year. So our trimester system obviously begins in trimester 1, so that will normally be kind of a February-March start. Trimester 2 will normally be around July, and then trimester 3 starts in October. Now, you don't have to take any kind of courses in trimester 3. That's pretty much like our summer trimester, so it's completely optional and will depend on your program. Some programs will offer courses in trimester 3 if you want to take them, and others don't. So trimesters 1 and 2 are really the only ones that are compulsory. And this just gives you an idea. These are the dates for 2022. Yes, thank you, Amira. Yes, please feel free to leave your email in the chat if you have to leave for class. No worries, we will get in touch with you after the session. Yeah, so that's essentially what 2022 looks like, to give you a bit of an idea. So most students will be starting in trimester 1 or 2 if they're coming in on a pathway. So normally you would do March to June, have a little break, and then do July to October. So that leaves you with a lot of free time, which is awesome. A lot of students, even if they start in trimester 2, they may take trimester 3 off. And in that time, obviously you can work in Australia, you can work on your student visa, you can travel around, you can go to other countries, you can go home, whatever you want to do, and then come back if you're finishing off in trimester 1 the following year. And I'm sure all of you are here today to hear about our pathways, and we do at Griffith have a pretty comprehensive credit precedent database. We do give a lot of credit for prior learning, and that of course includes all of our Canadian college partners. So we do have quite a number of partnerships. I believe it's over 40 partnerships across Canada, all the way from BC across to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So quite a lot of opportunities for students right across Canada. So we're just going to briefly go through the different sections of the university that relate to pathways, and we're going to talk about some of the most popular pathways programs in each area. So the first one is obviously business and government. We have a ton of pathways into business programs. Our business school is AACSB accredited. And if you're not familiar with that, that accreditation is actually a North American accreditation. So it's not an accreditation that all North American schools have, and a lot of schools outside of North America do not have this accreditation, but Griffith does. So it's kind of just an extra assurance to you that if you have a business degree from Griffith, you'll be able to come back to Canada or go to the US and be recognised. So it's good to know. And in the business school, there are lots and lots of different study areas. So, you know, a lot of students come to us specifically for things like Asian studies, event management, sports management, marketing, all different kinds of management, and tourism as well. Griffith is very well known for its tourism program. So normally most of our college pathways, and this is general, come back and check with me about your specific school's pathway, but for most of our college partners, if you're doing a 2-year diploma, you will be able to generally finish one of our programs in 1.5 years, and if you're doing a 3-year advanced diploma, you'll generally finish with us in 1 year. So there are a few exceptions to that, just dependent on rules for different programs, but that's generally the way it works across the board. So our Bachelor of Business, like most programs in Australia and in the UK, we usually do 3-year degrees, and that's because we don't do a lot of general electives. So generally you'll be going straight into exactly what you signed up for. So whether it's something like tourism or finance or whatever, you'll be kind of thrown straight in. So in terms of business, generally you'll finish in 1 year or 1.5 years, depending on the length of your diploma. This program is offered in Brisbane at the Nathan campus, Gold Coast, or online as well, and you can start in either trimester 1 or 2. And of course, as I mentioned, tourism. So we do have a Bachelor of International Tourism and Hotel Management, and that is pathwayed from most college diplomas. So where there is a college diploma in tourism, you will generally be able to get credit into that program. And obviously the Gold Coast in particular is a great place to study tourism because it is a tourism hub. So we have, the big casino, all kind of major hotel chains are there, lots of, ecotourism destinations. We have a lot of theme parks. So tons of places to do really interesting internships and to get some really interesting industry mentorship as well. The next area, of course, is criminology and law. So we do actually have the oldest criminology school in Australia, and we also have a big law school, which is ranked #1 in Australia as well. So definitely a great place if you are doing a diploma in criminology and you're looking to go ahead and get your bachelor degree in criminology. So generally we have criminology and criminal justice. That's kind of the biggest program in the criminology area. Or you can look at law as an option as well. So we do offer both the Bachelor of Laws and the Juris Doctor, which is the graduate level law program. And both of those do have Canadian law courses integrated into them. So you can do a Canadian stream. So definitely good options there. But if you're looking to start with the Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice, again, generally most of your criminology diplomas are 2 years, so generally you'll finish our program in 1.5 years. And it's offered both in Brisbane at the Mount Gravatt campus, Gold Coast, or online as well. And you can also start in trimester 1 or 2. And this is a really interesting program. We have a lot of Canadians coming in to do this one. And I think it's really interesting because you get, not just to find out a bit more about the law and policing, but there's also elements of psychology and social work as well. So very, very interesting. And you can actually specialise with particular elective courses in this program as well. And this is actually one of our Canadian alumni, and he is now a Mountie. And he talks there in his statement about how he was connected with a Queensland police officer. So the criminology program is very big into mentorship and connecting you with, police and other, youth officers, etc., all different people from across, all the different areas that you may possibly work in. And even though he returned to Canada, he found that mentorship and that relationship with Queensland Police really interesting and useful. We also offer engineering, IT, and aviation. So you will generally notice, if you've had a look at your college website, you will see a lot of IT pathways, and if you have aviation or aviation management, you'll see those pathways. You may not see engineering. We do still offer credit for engineering programs, but the faculty has decided to assess them on a case-by-case basis. So the pathway is not kind of preset. So essentially you just need to ask to be assessed for credit when you apply, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. So in this area, Bachelor of Aviation Management is probably our most popular program, and this one is open to students who have done a 2-year diploma, usually in aviation safety, something along those lines. Seneca and Georgian, any colleges that have any kind of aviation program that is 3 years with a co-op placement, those students can actually do a different pathway. You can actually pathway into our graduate certificate and then onto the Master of Aviation. So a really interesting pathway for students who've got that co-op component, or if you don't have co-op, if you have significant work experience, the program director will also assess you as potentially able to enter this pathway as well. So this one is offered at the Brisbane campus. You can also do this program online, and trimester 1 or 2 start date as well. And this is a great one to do at Griffith. Griffith has been teaching, air travel safety and aviation management programs for a really long time. We have a fantastic relationship with Qantas and other, companies in the aviation space. So, tons of guest speakers coming all the time, lots of opportunities to connect with people in industry. So definitely, the other thing is a really strong alumni network in Canada and around the world. But I'd mention Canada because we do have so many Canadian college students coming on to do these aviation management programs. So really good opportunity to network for all of our Canadian students. And aside from aviation, these are some of the other areas that I mentioned. So we do have some IT and computer science programs and a number of different engineering programs as well. So keep that in mind. If you are doing something related to engineering, engineering is not off the table. You will just need to apply for credit at the time of application. And I mentioned medicine, dentistry, and health as well. So although you may not be looking to apply for a program like medicine or dentistry, we have a lot of different health programs that come under that umbrella that will relate to our college pathways. So these are some of the study areas here, and you'll see things like social work and human services mentioned here. So these do fall under the health area. We kind of think of health in a more holistic way, not just thinking about physical health, but also mental, emotional health as well. So one of our most popular pathway programs in this area is the Bachelor of Child, Youth and Family Practice. Again, depending on the length of your diploma, it might be a year to a year and a half with Griffith. And this one is offered at the Logan campus, or you can actually do it online as well. This program is very hands-on, and you will get into areas around kind of welfare and child protection, that type of thing. And there are professional practical placements that you'll need to take for this one. So yeah, it's very hands-on from the beginning, which is nice, and nice to come out at the end of the degree with some experience as well. And the Bachelor of Human Services is similar to that, another really popular program with Canadians. This one, same again, can be studied at Logan campus, but it's also available at the Gold Coast, and also available for trimester 1 or 2 start. And this one is a little different. The focus is a little more on helping a range of people in the community, but very based in social justice, which you'll find a number of programs at Griffith are like that. So if you're interested in creating change, this is definitely a great program for you. And Griffith is definitely a good place to study. And again, professional practical placements for this program as well. The next area is science and environment. So I did mention a little bit about environmental science earlier. We were the first school of environment in Australia, and so we have a really strong foundation there in the area of environmental science. We also have programs in marine science, marine biology, so if those are of interest to you at all, we can certainly help you out with that. And these are the major areas of science that you can study with us. We also have forensic science. I should mention that in addition to criminology, if you're more interested in the science side of things, we do offer forensic science. So the Bachelor of Environmental Science is probably our biggest science pathway. So again, most students will finish in a year and a half. If they're coming off a 2-year, some kind of environmental science or environmental tech diploma. This one is offered both at Brisbane at the Nathan campus or Gold Coast. And yeah, we had the first environmental science degree in Australia all the way back in the 1970s, when people thought we were totally crazy for offering environmental science. But of course now this field is extremely popular and environmental scientists are in demand. Now, this program includes a capstone course in the final year as well. So normally this will be a research project or some kind of industry internship or working on an industry project. So again, great to kind of have that experience related to industry before you actually graduate. So we've covered off on the main areas where you'll find our pathways. Of course, if there is something that I did not mention today, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Martin at KOM, and we can talk a little bit more about your particular situation and your particular program. It's hard to talk about all of them here today because we have so many pathways, you know, at 40 something different colleges across Canada. So I've just tried to pick out the ones where we see kind of common themes across different colleges and where we see the most in terms of enrolments from Canada. Now, in terms of the application process, it's pretty straightforward. If you've had a look on your college's database, you'll have an idea of which program you would be transferring into at Griffith. So you just need to, you can either apply via the program page on the website, on the Griffith website. You kind of have to scroll down a long way to apply. Or of course you can apply via Martin and the team at KOM as well. I think it's good to apply via an education agent. Number one, you don't pay our application fee. Number two, you don't pay them anything either. And three, they just give you a lot more support. They kind of guide you through the whole process. They know what our entry requirements are. They're familiar with our programs. So they just have a lot of, you know, good knowledge from all of that time working with Griffith. So again, pretty straightforward. You accept, you get your offer, you accept by essentially completing the acceptance form. You send back your first trimester's deposit, fees deposit, and your overseas health cover, and that's a compulsory health cover for all international students in Australia. It's normally about $600, $700 per year, and that will cover you for your doctor and hospital visits, that kind of thing. In most cases, if you are doing things like extreme sports, anything crazy like that, you might want to take out some additional insurance, but otherwise you're pretty well covered. And yeah, then we send you out your confirmation of enrolment, and this is just a digital document that will allow you to apply for your student visa And again, that application is all done online. You don't have to go to an Australian consulate or anything like that. It's all online. Most Canadians will have their student visa somewhere between 24 and 72 hours. Occasionally, if there's some type of you've got a more complicated application, it might take you a couple of weeks to receive your student visa, but generally it's really, really quick and super convenient having it all available to do online as well. So we do have a number of scholarships available to international students. So some of them are specific to study area, but a lot of them are based around academic excellence. And, I hear a lot of students in Canada say, oh, I've got okay grades, but probably not, enough for a scholarship. Well, a lot of our college students do win scholarships. So I do encourage you to apply for anything that you're eligible for. If you go onto the link down there underneath the picture, the International Scholarships page, you can actually search for scholarships. Usually you can search by nationality, by program level and by study area. At the moment, we've streamlined the applications. So essentially there are 3 scholarships that are open to students at the moment, at least through 2021, and I think into 2022 as well. So the only one you really have to apply for at the moment is the Remarkable Scholarship. So you do need to submit an application with your transcripts and a personal statement, and that scholarship is worth a 50% tuition discount off your entire program. So definitely worth applying for. And the other 2 scholarships available at the moment are the Excellence Scholarship, which is a 25% discount off your tuition for the entire program, and the Merit Scholarship, which is a 20% discount. Now, these 2 are based entirely on GPA. So admissions will be assessing those, basically assessing your grades for those applications as they review your application as a whole. So if you are successful for the Merit or the Excellence Scholarship, this will be mentioned in your offer letter. And don't worry if it doesn't appear on the first page. I have a feeling it's buried. It's like page 2 or 3, but you will find mention of a scholarship there if it is available to you. And you can still, even if you're not successful for one of those, you can apply for the Remarkable Scholarship as well. The other thing I should mention in terms of money, so I did mention that you can work in Australia. So on your student visa, you do have work rights built in, and you can work about 20 hours per week during your study period, and you can work full-time during any breaks. So this is great to know. You can also bring a lot of Canadian provincial loans for international study that can go towards your tuition in Australia. So OSAP, for example, for Ontario students, there is an international OSAP that is completely separate from the domestic side. So even if you did not get OSAP, for other study, you can still apply for international study. And you can apply for, Canadian bank loans, Canadian lines of credit. You can bring all of that to help pay for your tuition in Australia. And we mentioned the working while you study as well. I didn't mention Australia does have a pretty high minimum wage as well. So I think the absolute minimum at the moment is about $21 per hour. But I have a lot of students, working stacking supermarket shelves and that type of thing. And they're earning somewhere between $30 and $35 an hour. So it's pretty good. It definitely helps with your extracurricular activities for sure. And of course, because we're so big on employability, we have to have our careers in employment service helping you out. So these guys do a lot of events, run a lot of sessions throughout the year. So if you're looking for help on, how do I find a mentor? How do I, learn to network with people? Is my resume okay? Do I need to update it? They can help you with all of this stuff. They also do job interview preparation, which is awesome because a lot of the time when you're, in university or college, you might have a part-time job, but you may never have, actually sat down for an interview for a full-time job in the area that you actually wish to work in. So this can be really, really helpful to you. So I definitely encourage you to take advantage of this while you're studying. So when we're talking about the cost of studying, obviously we have tuition fees, and I've talked about the fact that the deposit to accept your place at Griffith is your first trimester's tuition fees plus your overseas health cover. We've covered that. You'll also have visa application fees. I think the fees at the moment are running around $600 for your visa, and that will cover you for your entire time studying in Australia. Of course, you have to think about flights. Once flights resume into Australia from Canada, and I believe Qantas is looking at starting those up from November, December. So they're looking also at adding a new flight. So they haven't always flown directly from Vancouver into Brisbane, but they're adding a Vancouver to Brisbane flight, which is awesome because that will create some competition for Air Canada and provide better prices for you. So yeah, you have to look at cost of flights, obviously shop around, look for student discounts, look for, as any kind of bargain you can find, honestly. And of course, you have to look at the cost of living overall. So this next slide gives you a little bit more help. So the Australian government generally requires you to have access to a minimum of about 20,000 Australian dollars per year for your living costs. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll use that, but they like to make sure that you do have access to money so that you're not working so much that your study suffers. But you can see, costs range quite a bit, just depending on your lifestyle, where you want to live, how often you eat out, all of that kind of stuff. But it gives you a bit of a guide. You'll definitely find things like mobile phones much cheaper than Canada with a lot more data. And then, some other things will be more expensive. The thing to keep in mind with a lot of prices in stores in Australia is that tax is included in the sticker price. So whatever price you see, that is the price you pay when you get to the cashier. So there's no extra tax, put on at the cashier. Same in restaurants. When you get the bill, tax will be included. Tips are not expected. So yeah, it's a very different thing. Sometimes things can look more expensive up front, but when you think about it, the fact that tax is included and you don't have to tip, that makes a big difference. When you're looking at rent there, you'll see there's quite a big difference, and this will depend a lot. Obviously, if you're living on campus, it will depend on how many people are living in your apartment. If you're sharing a house off campus, it often depends on how close are you to the beach, particularly at the Gold Coast. So the closer you are to the beach, the more you're going to pay in your rent. That rent, by the way, is by week. We generally pay rent by week, not by month in Australia. So keep that in mind. Now, in terms of accommodation, we do have a lot of on-campus accommodation available to students. This picture here is actually the on-campus accommodation, the Griffith University Village at the Gold Coast campus. So pretty nice apartment style living. You have your own bedroom, but you're just sharing your kitchen and living room with your housemates. And yeah, again, price will depend on how many people you're willing to share with. You have a kitchen that's fully equipped, so you can cook your own food. We don't do meal plans really at Griffith, and then you'll find that a lot in Australia. We're not big into like dorm style accommodation and meal plans and that kind of thing. So most of our students prefer this because you can go shopping and kind of get the food that you want to eat, or you can choose to eat out, order in, whatever you want to do. The University Village does have a lot of people sponsoring dinners throughout the week. So, if you're savvy, you could probably eat free for 3 or 4 nights a week. And of course, there are tons of off-campus accommodation options for you as well. On the Griffith International Accommodation website, you'll also find a list of preferred partners. So we do have a lot of partners, both the Griffith University Village and others that are off campus but close to campus, that we kind of give the Griffith tick of approval to. So, you can feel safe, going with those providers, knowing that, that Griffith approves and, they're going to take care of you. If you want to look at other accommodation options, of course you can. This is a list of accommodation websites that both Australian and international students use. So you can use these to either find short-term accommodation, long-term accommodation. You can, look to take out a lease yourself on an apartment or a house, or you can find people who already have a lease and are just looking for a roommate. So tons and tons of options. We're one of those few universities that actually does not have a problem with accommodation. So we always have a lot of options both on and off campus. And this is the GLink Tram that I mentioned earlier. So if you're studying on the Gold Coast, if you're, going to campus, going up and down the Gold Coast, you're likely going to be taking the GLink Tram at some stage. That's the only thing I say to students. You don't have to live on campus. As long as you're within walking distance to a tram stop or a bus stop, you'll be absolutely fine to get to campus. No need to live on campus unless you want to, of course, but there are plenty of other options if you would prefer not to. We do offer free airport pickup as well, so it doesn't matter whether you're coming into Brisbane Airport, Gold Coast Airport, or which campus you're going to. We will pick you up and take you to the right place, or your home if you've got a place off campus. So all you need to do is to make sure that you book this service at least 72 hours before you leave Canada. But yeah, it's a great service. So in terms of what goes on aside from classes, there is a ton of student life at Griffith. We have, I think it's over 150 different clubs and societies now at Griffith. A lot of them, Australia is pretty sports crazy, so you'll notice a lot of clubs and activities related to sports and fitness. But we have tons of other things. We have a lot of clubs and societies around religion and culture and just different hobbies, like people who like anime or certain types of music or whatever. So there's pretty much something for everybody. If you, for some reason, can't find the club you're looking for, reach out to the Student Guild. They actually take care of all the different clubs and societies, and they can talk to you about how to start a club. We also have a lot of food and market days on campus, usually at least once a week, sometimes more. And of course, there's a lot of activity going on during orientation as well. So I definitely would recommend that you get involved in orientation activities. There are orientation, specific activities for international students, but also for everybody at Griffiths. So I would definitely get involved in all of those. That's a super easy way straight off the bat to meet people and start making friends. And this is the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre that we saw earlier on the map. So if you are studying on the Gold Coast, you'll have access to this pool and also all of the equipment in the building behind it. So we offer all the usual kind of fitness classes you'd expect, as well as access to weights and machines, all of that kind of stuff, personal training, all of that kind of stuff so you can keep healthy. And of course, we have a Canadian Student Association because we have so many Canadians studying on campus. So yeah, you can definitely make contact with them. They have a Facebook group. There are also a number of other areas. So if you're involved in a particular school or program, they will often have pages on Facebook or on Instagram. So definitely check those out before you hit campus. And I'm just going to play you a little video from one of our previous Canadian college students, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his experience.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Babin, and I'm from Eastern Canada. Let me introduce to you...
Oh, sorry guys, I think I messed that up.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Babin, and I'm from Eastern Canada. Let me introduce to you some of my friends that call Griffith home.
Griffith is known as a world-class university, and this has been really reflected in the standard of teaching that I've experienced at Griffith. My lecturers are very friendly, very professional, and the content we learn has been brilliant. They know me by name, and it's been such a great learning environment.
So I chose Australia because I had some friends that traveled over here a couple of years ago and told me how beautiful it was. One of my best experiences here at Griffith was definitely meeting all types of people from all around the world, learning about their cultures, where they're from, and definitely having a good time with them.
My lecturer in Griffith University was very, very helpful. Every time I have a consultation, they advised me not only for academic, but for personal issues, which was really helpful, and I really appreciate that.
I was really nervous. I was not sure how people are gonna treat me. I was not confident about my language as well. But at the same time, I was really happy that I'm coming to another country, which is so much different to where I am from, and I will be having so many other opportunities.
I love Australia because of the people and just the whole atmosphere. They have nice weather all the time. We just go to the beach. It's just a different lifestyle. My advice is make friends, talk to people, don't be shy, and just be yourself.
At uni, I felt really homesick. Good thing that Griffith Uni has a lot of clubs that I can join to. If you're a Latin American, we have a Latin American club. If you're a Chinese student, we have a Chinese club.
I definitely made lots of friends in OE. That made me a little bit more comfortable being here. Everyone was really welcoming and I loved being a part of the social calendar. I definitely think studying at Griffith is going to help me in my career. I'm almost about to graduate and I feel really prepared to go out into the workforce.
We look forward to welcoming you to the Griffith community.
Okay, so one of the other things that you'll notice during orientation is the presence of the Griffith Mates. And this is basically a peer support network made up of international students who've usually been at Griffith for at least a year, and they want to help out other international students who are starting at Griffith. So they run a lot of activities during O Week. They're a great place to start, making friends, getting involved in free activities and events. Also, if you're at all interested in community volunteering, they do a lot around environmental type programs like beach care and taking care of the bush. So yeah, if you're interested in volunteering, definitely check out the Griffith Mates during orientation. They run events all throughout the year as well, so they're definitely good people to keep in touch with. They also offer an international student buddy program, so if aside from meeting up with the whole group, you'd like to kind of be connected with one other person to ask all of your questions and get some help, extra help along the way, they can help you out with that. And we have a lot of other dedicated support for our international students. So of course you can always get help from your course coordinators, your program coordinators, the school that you belong to, but there is lots of other help as well. We do have an international student advisory, so these are the staff that you can go to with pretty much anything, particularly if you're not sure where to go. Go and see an ISA and they can help you out with any questions that you have, whether it's about your academics, you've got some issue with your program, or you're looking for, tutoring, or you have a question about your visa. They're super helpful. We also have a lot of other health and wellbeing services. So we do have, doctor, nurse and counsellor on campus, and they can also refer you to other health providers off campus. And we have disability services available as well. If you require any kind of learning accommodations, let us know at the time of application and we can start the process for helping you out with your accommodations while you study with us. So the $1 million question, you're like, this is great. I want to go to Australia. I want to do my program. But when is Australia actually going to open its borders? It's been closed for so long. What's going on? So yes, so Australia has generally done pretty well with COVID because they closed borders early and they've had, restrictions in place in terms of travel. Recently, there have been some outbreaks, mostly in Sydney and Melbourne because of the Delta variant. Obviously, that's kind of caught a lot of people off guard. but numbers are looking good, and vaccinations are rolling out. So things are looking good. As I mentioned before, Qantas has already released their travel schedules. They're hoping to start flying again between North America and Australia by the end of the year. So hopefully that all comes true, and students can start studying with us again in trimester 1. It's a little hard to say at this stage. We know the government has a reopening plan, and of course the universities have been very vocal in wanting to get students back on campus, as have communities like the Gold Coast. So everybody is there, everybody wants students to come back, but I think it's probably going to be more like a staged reopening. So I think probably the first priority for early next year will be getting returning students back. So we have a lot of students who are already studying with us who went home during the pandemic, and who might have been unable to get back in, and students who have started with us online either in 2020 or this year. So I think they will probably be the priority, and then we'll start to see students coming back, newer students, after that, probably trimester 2, trimester 3 next year. So that's what I'm anticipating. It's hard to say for sure, but keep up to date for sure. On the Griffith homepage, you'll actually see a banner up the top that talks about information around the pandemic. So you can go in there and keep up to date. Also, if you're on our database already, if you received an email about coming to this presentation, you will definitely receive an email with updates. So as soon as you're able to get in, we will tell you, and we'll be ready. We can't wait to see everybody back on campus again. So if you want to get in touch after the presentation today, of course you can touch base with me. I'm based in Ontario, so really easy time zone wise for most students across Canada. You can email me at j.somogyi@griffith.edu.au. Feel free to call or text me 519-993-8711. You can find me on Skype as Genki Aussie, and you can also find me on Instagram, where I post a lot of stuff about Griffith and my Canadian students. That's Griffithu_Justine. And of course, Martin did put KOM's details in the chat as well. So if you want some more information from Martin and his team about how they can help you, definitely reach out. And you can connect with Griffith, of course, on all the major social channels. Griffith University has its own channels, and Griffith International has its own channels as well. So keep a lookout for all of those. And I do have a final video to show you, a bit of a teaser about what life at Griffith looks like.
Sunset talks, blissful explosion lights the sky. The moment of clarity is shut as glass. The beauty it draws me in. Love changes.
So that's it from me today, guys. I'm just going to have a look in the chat, have a look and see if there are any questions. Please feel free to pop questions in now. If you have any, thank you for all of your emails. That's awesome. So Amira's just asking about the required GPA. So from your college programs, it can be specific sometimes on your particular GPA scale. So just check with your transfer staff. But generally it's like a 65% average from your college diploma for most programs at Griffith that are kind of on the official pathway, because we recognise so much of your program and we're familiar with your colleges. We feel comfortable with a 65 average in your program. And does anybody have any other questions? Feel free to type them in. Yeah, Tommy has asked hang on, let me go back up here. How would you describe living with the most dangerous animals and insects? This is a question we get all the time as Australians. It'd be like if I said to you, what's it like living in Canada with bears? I mean, do you come in contact with bears every day? No. I can count on one hand how many times I saw a snake in Australia, and it was always like way out in the bush, nowhere near my house. You see the odd spider here and there. Depends also, again, like how bushy your suburb, wherever you're living is. Most of the most terrifying looking spiders are not the most dangerous, so there's some good news. Yeah, usually they're big and ugly, but yeah, they're not harmful. Let's go back up here. I missed a part about studying with Griffith and having a family. Would Griffith be able to help me find a place for families with spouse and children? Yeah, so we can, so obviously, you've got some information there about places to look for accommodation. Also, we can give you a little bit of information on like the school system and how to, enroll your kids in school. We do have, for younger children, we do have childcare on campus. And yeah, the process in terms of visas is usually pretty straightforward. If you're coming on a student visa, generally your spouse and any dependents will come in kind of with their own visas on top of your visa, so they're all connected. So yeah, it's definitely doable. We have a lot of people who come out with families, and yeah, it's great to be able to share that whole experience with them, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Good to see you. Early childhood at Algonquin. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is a pathway from that. I think it might be to the Bachelor of Child, Youth and Family Studies. But feel free to contact me for more information about that. What about learning to drive on the other side? I think it's pretty much like when I first lived in Canada. It takes you about 2 weeks to get comfortable with it. And since then, even when I go back to Australia, I quite easily move back to driving on the other side. It's just one of those things. You just need to give yourself like time to practice and just make yourself do it, every day or two. And it comes easily. Yeah, no worries. Thank you all so much for coming out. I appreciate it. Really good to see you all. Just a question here about going to university from a college. Sounds like a big jump. Would I encounter much greater academic work ethic expectations? I don't think so. If you've done reasonably well in your college diploma, I don't think you'll have a huge issue. I think the only difference that I sometimes hear from North American students is about, I guess, difference in kind of level of hand-holding, if that makes sense. Sometimes I feel like students in Australia definitely most students, even if they're coming from straight out of high school in Australia, most of them are 18 minimum, going right up to students in their 70s, 80s, 90s. So we have a real mix of age ranges. But yeah, it's a leap definitely if you were going from high school, for sure. From college, I would assume, you've started to kind of learn, time management and, if you have issues, to go and see, your course coordinator before they, start snowballing, stuff like that. So I think that's a big thing. I think there's definitely, an independence required. You do need to be, a good independent learner, because aside from your, classes and workshops, you are going to be doing a lot of study by yourself at home in the library with your friends. So you do need to learn how to be, self-motivated, independent. If you're having problems, go and see someone. Don't wait. As long as you're that kind of person, I think you'll have no problems. You'll be doing really well. Let's see, what else? Is it possible to do business degree with 1 to 1.5 years of technical training from a Quebec business program? Probably yes, but we'd have to do an assessment on that particular program. So if there's no set pathway, we'd have to do an assessment for credit. And it's pretty straightforward. When you go and fill out the application form for Griffith, there's actually a question on the form that asks you if you want to be assessed for credit. So you just tick yes and include your transcript. And then they will come back with the offer letter. They'll let you know how much credit we're able to give you, whether you meet entry requirements for the program. And if you don't meet entry requirements for some reason, admissions will normally tell you, a pathway, another way to get into that program. So yeah, if you have a program that, I didn't mention, or something that's very specific that's maybe not even on the pathways table for your college, just feel free to reach out to me and let me know. But yeah, it's likely just going to be an individual assessment. Are there organised travels from the university? Yeah, definitely. So the Student Guild organises a lot of trips, day trips, weekend trips, etc., all throughout the year. And then, of course, different clubs have their stuff as well. So yeah, there's tons of stuff, going on all the time. And as you meet people, particularly other international students, you'll meet people who want to travel to other parts of Australia or New Zealand or into Asia, particularly for those of you who have that T3 break, you might really want to go deep into travel. And while you're in Australia, you may as well go to New Zealand for sure. We are so close. Don't go to just one, do both. And if you have a chance, to see, Tasmania, go across to Western Australia, go up into Asia. Asia is not that far a flight from Australia. So if you want to go to Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, really, really close to Australia. So make the most of it. Yeah, I understand, Christian. We can, make accommodations, of course. So, if you have on your application, you can always let us know that you have particular issues that need to be dealt with, and maybe, you may need some extra assistance. And our health and wellbeing service can certainly get involved and let us know, what type of supports are available to you. Can we choose the campus we study at? Yes, if your program is offered at multiple campuses, yes. On the application form, it will actually ask you what your campus preference is. So you can just pop that in there. And if for some reason there wasn't a place available, they would normally offer you a different campus. But for the Bachelor of Business, that would not be a problem. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you, appreciate you coming by. Please feel free to get in touch with me for more information at any time. And yeah, look forward to talking to you further about your study. Take care, everyone. Bye.